Good morning, everyone, wherever you are, or I guess good afternoon, good evening, good night. Stephen Lyman here from Japan Distilled, and got special guest Armando Cornejo, who's visiting us from Mie Prefecture. As you can see, he's a bit of a whiskey fan, based on everything on his shelves behind him. Let us know what's in your glass. What are you sipping on today? Uh, Hopefully, it's whiskey. For me, it's coffee since it's still morning. But how about you, Armando? What are you enjoying this morning?
Hello, everybody. At the moment, I am drinking whiskey because of this. I normally
Great
wait
excuse.
until midday or after lunch to start drinking, but this is just a special day, and I'm drinking this
Oh wow.
Komagatake single malt Japanese whiskey aged in Yakushima, bottled in
Nice.
21. This is a really, really good whiskey. The hot climate in Yakushima Island makes it mature faster, I think. So it's very flavorful.
Yeah.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. How old is that? Do they say what the how long it's been in the cask?
Um, 3 to 5 years, it says.
3 to 5. Yeah. So
Yeah.
relatively young, but you're right, with the hot climate down in Yakushima. You can actually, if you hold the label up to your camera, people can see that the green spot on the label is actually the shape of the island, Yakushima
Yes.
Island, which is off the coast of Kagoshima. It's between Kagoshima proper, Kyushu Island, and the Amami Islands. So very, very far south, and right next to Tanegashima, which is basically the NASA island of Japan. It's where all the rockets go up from. And Yakushima is a pretty amazing place. It's a World Heritage Site for its natural beauty. The anime Princess Mononoke's lush green backgrounds are all based on Yakushima. It's a really, really cool place. They have their own indigenous species of deer, and you can eat the deer when you're on the island. Uh,
I love.
there's a lot of deer on the menu in Yakushima izakayas.
To be
So
honest, I was really, really waiting to visit Kagoshima and of course Yakushima, if possible. That was since 2021,
yeah,
and then the distillery closed to guests for a couple of years or a year or something like that, and still it's not so great to travel here.
yeah.
So I think
That's
that
right.
would be my next trip.
Yeah, it's a great place to visit. I was fortunate enough to visit about, I guess, around 2015, 2016. And there are two shochu distilleries on the island. One is Mitake, which is a pretty famous brand nationwide, and then the other is one of the distilleries owned by Hombo Distillery, which is also the owner of Mars Whiskey. And so they distill shochu on the island, and then they have their aging warehouse adjacent to the shochu distillery. They make handmade shochu down there, um, and then obviously they're aging. They distill in both in what in at the is it the Shinshu distillery up in Nagano,
Yep.
and then also at uh, in their Tsunuki,
Tsunuki. Tsunuki.
Tsunuki in Tsunuki in Kagoshima. So they have two different distilleries, and then they do aging all over the place. So they'll take Tsunuki made whiskey and age it somewhere else. They'll take Shinshu made whiskey and age it somewhere else because they've got all these
Yes.
different options. And as Armando said, whiskey ages faster in hot climates. That's why you don't need an 8 or 12 or 15-year-old bourbon.
It's
Because
because even if you leave it there for 12 years, when you go see the cask, it's gonna be half empty.
yeah, that's right. It'll evaporate more, and it'll be much darker, and it's going to probably go oaked at that point. It's just going to have too much flavor from the wood, where you want that balance. And so scotches tend to be aged longer because it's a cold climate, right?
Exactly.
So, there's sometimes I think in the whiskey world a little bit of a fetishization with age statements, like how old something is, older the better, and that's not the case,
I don't
right?
particularly share that opinion because, yeah, I've had one of the best whiskeys I've ever had in my life was actually a Mars 3-year old, and it was the
Nice.
Le Papillon Red.
Mm,
So good, it's
yeah,
just perfect.
yeah. Mars is one of my favorite of the big boys of the large distilleries in Japan. I'm a huge fan of Mars.
Same here.
I, I go out and I get a case of whatever their limited edition for the year is, and take my time enjoying that. It's really really good whiskey, and so what relatively well priced, I think,
Yes.
compared to things from Nika and Suntory. Actually, my bottle kill last night actually was a non-age statement Yoichi,
Okay.
which I've been enjoying for a while now, which is probably of Suntory and Nika. I would say that Yoichi tends to be my favorite of those
Yeah,
really really big boy brands.
and one thing liking about recent days is that you can actually find a few bottles at the liquor stores.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great
Yeah,
because I was just losing hope with
yeah.
Japanese whiskey. I would travel to different prefectures to go to liquor stores. Just walking around the city looking for liquor stores, and there was nothing.
Yeah.
So lately, even at my local town liquor stores, which is a very small city, you can find what you can find. You can find the Miyagikyo, the Yoichi, uh, some Yamazaki, some Hakushu, and that was impossible a couple of years ago.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I was in the same boat. It's still hard for me to find some of those around here. I do have a pretty great liquor store, which I think I've told you about offline, called Bonyo here in Fukuoka, which is it specializes in Western alcohols, and so they end up having they usually get allocations of anything that's coming out. So probably I know the Yoichi 10 year is coming back. I have a feeling they'll have that. They
Nice,
also might have sold it all to Inshokuten, into bars and restaurants, because
that's
that's
true.
their main business, is selling to those folks. But they've gotten to know me over the years, as I've spent too much money on a lot of the spirits behind me are from them, at least the non-Japanese ones. Um, and so I'm able to pick up some nice things there. But when the I think it was when the Taketsuru was first re-released, you had to buy a set, right? You had to buy a Miyagi Kyo and the Taketsuru, or
Right,
a Yoichi and the Taketsuru. And so I ended up getting two bottles of Taketsuru, one bottle of Yoichi, one bottle of Miyagi Kyo. And
right.
so I've been working through those Nika products, which I tend to like Nika quite a bit as well. Um, uh, there we
This
go.
one.
Yeah. So I guess just for people who don't know, Yoichi was the first distillery opened by Nika up in Hokkaido, and then Miyagi Kyo was the second, and that was actually opened in, I guess it's Miyagi Prefecture, right? That's part of why it has that name.
Yeah, in Sendai.
Um, yep. And I've not been to Miyagi Kyo, but I've been to Yoichi, and that's a pretty phenomenal campus to walk around, and
I love it. I
all the
love it.
history. Yeah.
It's just sensational. I mean, and also the freedom that you have just to walk around and do whatever you want at the distillery is amazing because I only had experienced the Yamazaki distillery tour,
Hmm.
and that's super regulated, and walk here and do there, stand and don't take pictures of this. You can take pictures of that. And
Yep.
it was just like a teacher and their students at the back. But this
That's
one
right.
at Yoichi and also the one at Sendai, you can just walk around and do whatever. Super
Yeah.
good experience.
It is. You're right. You just wander into aging warehouses or whatever building. As long as there's a couple places that are off limits, obviously, but
Right.
yeah, you're right. It's a beautiful campus. It's really just with those red roofed buildings and all the green and everything during the summer. It's really nice.
I've never been in summer, but I think I went there early spring. So it was still a bit of snow, which was
Mhm,
great
mhm.
because it was not super cold. And at that time, it must be, of course, before Corona, because you had no limit of how much whiskey you could try. Because
Sure.
nowadays, after they reopened, they just limit you to three, I think.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to go just to get three samples.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. It's definitely good experience. I think I might have actually gone in winter the first time that I went up to Yoichi. So there was definitely snow on the ground. Um, but summer's a great time to visit Hokkaido. I mean, it is so hot in most of Japan,
Right.
and Hokkaido is still pretty temperate. So if you want to escape the summer heat, uh, Hokkaido is a nice choice for sure.
I think I've been to Hokkaido 3, 4 times,
Hmm.
and I think that's my favorite prefecture in Japan.
Is
Lots
it?
of nice, cozy bars, great weather, nice views,
Hmm.
and it's just a short train ride out of Otaru, which I like,
Yep.
and of course Yoichi.
Yeah.
I want to go again.
Definitely. Yeah. Otaru is a great little fishing village. I had an amazing sushi dinner there at a standing sushi bar. So,
Right.
which and it was top quality sushi, but because you're standing, it was a fraction of the price of what you'd pay to sit down at a nice sushi bar. So pretty amazing experience. And then the thing with standing bars is, as you know, is you just end up talking to everybody, right? You
Yeah.
go to a sushi restaurant and it's you and your guests, and you don't talk to anybody other than the chef and the staff. At a
Right.
standing place, all bets are off. So I ended up getting to know the guy next to me, and he's actually one of the announcers for the Hokkaido baseball team.
Oh, really?
And he basically gave me a standing invitation. Anytime you come up and you want to go to a game, let me know. So
That's great.
never taken him up on it, but yeah, it's a pretty cool experience. Those standing places, very social,
Hmm.
which is always nice. Um,
Yeah, I like them too, but not for too long.
yeah, it's true. You got to stand the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're good for kind of hopping around. You hit one of those, you go somewhere else. You know, up and down. Um,
exactly.
what else are you excited about in Japanese whiskey right now? Any of the newer distilleries catch your eye that you're enjoying their products?
Yes, but the most important thing I want to say to everybody is that there is a shed of light in availability because more and more distilleries are popping up and releasing products. Some of them blended, some of them single malts, some of them blended with foreign components, which is okay if they state so.
Hmm.
But lately, I bought one of these, one Ichiro's Malt Classical Edition,
Nice.
at retail price. For the first time in my life, I bought an Ichiro's Malt at retail price, which I think is a good sign, and that's what I really like. But there is something that I don't like so much. That is because everything is getting more expensive because of what's
Mhm,
happening in the world. Even getting a container with grain from the UK is 4 times or 5 times the price what it was 5 years ago.
mhm, mhm,
So distilleries like Akeshi in Hokkaido are releasing their very young products at almost $200 a bottle,
mhm, mhm,
which I don't participate. I don't really. Uh, I don't know. I don't support releasing like new products at 4 times the price of other distilleries.
mhm, mhm,
But at least with the amount of distilleries that are popping up, it means that maybe the other distilleries are not going to pursue those high prices at the beginning,
mhm, mhm,
and at least we have more options. That's what I wanted to say. We have more options, and of course, the big names are also exporting more, which
mhm.
is better for everybody else outside of Japan.
That's right. Yeah, they finally sort of restocked from the unexpected wave. They ramped up production a few years ago, and all of that whiskey is starting to make it out to the market, which is great. I I have the same feelings about the small distilleries. I think they see the popularity, these new distilleries, I guess, rather than small. They see the popularity of Japanese whiskey, and they see the secondary market prices that are just insane,
Yeah,
and they are pricing their whiskey similarly, And so it's making the whole category of Japanese whiskey, I think, more expensive than it probably should be.
Right.
And my concern is that it'll actually do harm to some of these distilleries because they're going to price themselves out, and if their product doesn't end up being popular, they're going to have a really hard time with that business model because people aren't going to pay those prices.
Yep.
You know,
The other thing that small distilleries face is that, for example, crisp malt, which sells like tons and tons of grain to Suntory,
mhm,
of course they're gonna give them a lower price than
mhm,
me, Armando, with my distillery. I just
sure.
want 1 ton a month or
Yep.
3 tons a month.
Mhm,
My price for the same malt and for the same product, shipping and whatever, is gonna
mhm,
be way higher.
yep.
So even if my product is about the same quality or better, I
Mhm.
need to charge more, right?
That's right. That's right.
So it's a good balance. It's a good balance between big producers and small producers, and thankfully they will just fight each other to give us the best prices and the best quality.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it all shakes out. I think there will be winners and losers in this rapid expansion of Japanese whiskey production. But some of the younger whiskeys I've tried from some of the newer makers is pretty fantastic. So I think there's some really good stuff on its way. I actually had some new make recently I generally don't care for new make whiskey. It just, it needs time in the barrel. But I had new make from the Shindo distillery down here in Fukuoka, both peated and unpeated, and they were both so smooth.
Really?
Yeah, really impressed by their new make. And I've tried new make from some of the others, and they're nice, but the Shindo one really stood out for me. Pretty remarkable that they've been able to do that, get such a smooth uh, and what is it, 70, 60, 65, 70% alcohol. So when I say smooth, I don't mean it doesn't burn. It
Yeah.
burns, but the flavor that it has is really nice. So yeah, very cool.
I
And what
sorry.
when did you get into whiskey, and how long have you been collecting? And
Well, what happened was that I used to drink a lot of highballs in Mexico because, well, that was the norm at that time. And in general, Mexico is being so hot all the time. People
mhm,
drink a lot of beer and highballs, even rum with soda. So everything is long drinks with lots of ice. So I
mhm,
came here
mhm,
to Japan, and I saw that my normal Johnny Walker Black Label was almost half the price than it was in Mexico.
hmm.
And I was just so happy, right? So I bought a lot of that, even by the case. And in 2014, I start 2000 at the end of 2013. My wife gave me a bottle of Yamazaki,
Hmm.
and then for my birthday, a bottle of Hakushu 12. And I was like, "This is so good." And because I was not that hot every day, I would try it on the rocks or neat.
Mhm.
I was like, these are good. So I started buying bottles of Hakushu non-age statement,
Mhm.
and I remember buying my first bottles for 2,500 yen or something like that.
Crazy.
And then it went up like that October. It went up like to almost 3,000, 2,980, something like that. And I was like, hmm. And then my wife told me that the taxes are gonna keep going up. Like there's no slowing down. So what I thought was, well, I'm just gonna buy now and drink later, and that's what I'm doing. I don't want to say I'm collecting, although this is obviously a collection because any amount of items from the same category is a collection. It doesn't matter if you use it for something or for the other.
Mhm, mhm,
So yeah, that was my idea. Just to buy as much as I can while the prices are down,
mhm, mhm.
and I try to never pay more than retail price. And a lot of times I search and search online for deals and good auction sites.
Mhm.
And most of the times, I get my bottles for retail or under,
Hmm.
which I think is the best, right?
Sure, sure.
And then because I have so many bottles open, when I get to open that bottle that I bought 5 years ago, it's now $300. And
Right.
everybody's like, wow, that's a nice whiskey. And it's like, yeah, it is a nice whiskey. But thankfully, I got it for like normal price 5 years ago.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
And I just keep doing that. If I find something, I just buy it. I don't go online or I don't go to a store thinking about I want
Hmm,
this bottle of Artbeg, Artcore, blah blah blah. Because you will
hmm,
never find
hmm.
it. What I do is I just pop in and it's like, what do they have on sale? And
Sure,
if it
sure.
catches my eye, I just get it. Like most of the times, it's blind buys,
Hmm, hmm.
and most of the times it's good surprises. Couple
Yep.
times here and there, you get an awful whiskey, but yeah, when you get it for a good price, it doesn't really matter.
Sure, sure. And that part of the fun is that exploration, finding what
Yep.
you like, finding a new brand that you really enjoy. Um, I've relied a lot on you and others who know much more about whiskey than I do. I'm more of a generalist, I guess, when it comes to spirits. Um, and so when you and our friend Mel up in Totori and a couple other people give me recommendations, you rarely steer me wrong. So I would tell folks, pay attention to Armando's Instagram and
Thank you.
whatever he's drinking is something probably worth tracking down, for sure. Yeah, and I have a much smaller whiskey collection. I do think I have to call it a collection, even though I only display about 10% of the bottles in this room.
Right.
Um, but I only have a small shelf. I love your display behind you. I'd like
Thank
to be
you.
able to do something like that. This is a rental apartment, so I'm not sure I should be building
Yeah, I
shelves
was I was I
this
was
morning.
having most of my whiskey just in closets, in boxes, but then I would never know if I had this bottle or not. So when we got the new house 2 years ago, I just asked my wife, It's okay if I use some shells for the whiskey?" And she said, "You can do whatever you want." And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna do it big then." So I
Yep.
got this. These are 4 racks, and next month I'm getting another 2 because I'm running out of space. And I have one next to my bed that is the open bottle rack.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
a
of
nice.
times when I post pictures about the shelves, there's always comments like, "Well, you should start drinking, and whiskey is for drinking, it's not for collecting." It's like I do a lot.
Yeah.
Even my doctor says that stop a little bit.
Sure. No, you got to drink in moderation for sure. When you've got that much product, it's going to take some time.
Yeah,
Um,
a life or two.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So we actually met for the first time in person. Before we knew each other online, at the Okinawan Whiskey Fest, which was the first Okinawan Whiskey Fest, and I think so far the only, because it was in December 2019,
I think so.
just
Yeah.
before COVID started. And we hit it off. Had a couple nice nights out, and yeah. And then
We
during
went
COVID,
for we
we
went
we
for
had
Okinawan soba and
that's
tebichi.
right. Yep,
That was
that's
really
right.
good.
Yeah, that was memories, right? Those times when you could go to spirits events in person. Um,
Right. I really wanted to go to what was it called? The Just a couple weeks ago in Nagoya, Whiskey Anytime or something like that. It was in the middle of a park in Hisaya Odori, and my good friend Mac from Kampai Planet,
yep.
he told me, let's go," and I really wanted to go, but I'm always a little bit afraid of Corona, right?
Sure,
So
sure.
that weekend, well, it was when it started spiking up. So yeah, I had to cancel that trip, but hopefully it will go down again, and I will be able to go to Tokyo again to visit Aloha Whiskey Bar, which I love,
Great
and
spot, great spot.
to see my friend Mac and Costas and all my friends in Tokyo. I used to go to Tokyo very often for music festivals.
Hmm.
And then in 2014, 15, 16, I started changing the music festivals for whiskey festivals. And hopefully they will be back again soon.
Yeah, I think they will. We had a couple of Shochu events just before this most recent spike. We had the first and largest in-person one was at the PayPay Dome here in Fukuoka a few weeks
Oh, yeah, I
ago.
saw your post.
There are about 80 distilleries there, and it was nice because it was in the baseball stadium, so it wasn't outdoors, but it felt like it was outdoors. There was plenty of circulating air and
Right.
plenty of distance between customers. So it felt relatively safe, even though the spike had begun. We knew Corona was back with the newest wave, but I think they had it really well organized for that. And an outdoor festival in Nagoya probably would have been okay for the same reason because you get the air circulation. But I understand the concern for sure. It's making it this deep in, and not having been infected is it just makes it, you wonder when it's going to happen, if it's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
It's
and
always
I
going to
saw
be this.
some of the tables they had this like big plastic uh what is it, like a vinyl just in front of you, so there is no particular interaction. And then maybe not this one, but a previous festival was try not to talk to each other, always wear your mask, and only do this for tasting and put it back, and don't talk to each other. I was like,
Yep.
what?
Yeah.
Don't talk to each other? That's like half of the fun.
Right. No, for sure. The socialization at those, or socializing at those festivals is really what makes them so great. I met so many fantastic people at that Okinawan festival, and the same thing happens when I go to Shochu festivals. So, completely understand the frustration there, and hopefully we'll be back, um, to relatively normal soon. It actually looks like we've got some comments. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Edmundo said he's drinking the Aaron Port cask, and very cool. Got visitors from all over. We got a hello from Mac. He says "Kampai" to you.
Oh,
Uh,
yay.
we got regards from Guadalajara, Mexico, from Daniel, and another Daniel saying greetings from Venezuela. So people from all over the world. This is great.
That's amazing. Thank you, everybody,
Yeah.
for tuning in.
And then our
Daniel.
friend Maurice, who we also spent time with in Okinawa, said, "Wow, 4 racks and growing. You have a whiskey museum."
Yeah, Maurice, great guy.
He is fantastic, fantastic guy, and another person worth following on social for his wide breadth of knowledge of all things Okinawa.
Yeah.
So he lives down there. Good stuff. Cool. Anything else on your mind about the state of Japanese whiskey? Any
I wanted
brands
to
you're
take a
loving?
little parenthesis and ask you about the Shochu big festival.
Uh-huh.
How do you think Shochu is going up recently?
So domestically here in Japan, it's shrinking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the it still outsells sake, but both sake and shochu are declining.
Okay.
Whiskey and beer seem to be holding their own. Whiskey, of course, continues to expand. Gin seems to be having a moment
Okay.
domestically here in Japan. Overseas, I think shochu awareness is starting to gain traction, and I think we're seeing a lot more shochu ending up in cocktails and on restaurant menus and that sort of thing, and more availability in liquor stores, at least in the U.S. and Europe. So I think as the domestic market's shrinking, exports are starting to climb, but it's going to be a long road. You're talking about essentially a brand new category, and
Right.
tequila was in the U.S. for 50 years before it became popular, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to take some time, I think, for it to become one of those spirits you just expect to find in a bar whenever you visit, right?
Right.
Could you imagine walking into a bar and not finding tequila, rum, vodka, or whiskey, right?
I
And
do. I do. Here you go to an izakaya and they don't have spirits.
True.
It's just
Yeah.
shochu, beer, and sake.
Yeah.
So Now that you mentioned gin,
Hmm.
I actually started liking gin a lot. I'm drinking mostly Japanese gin, um, but it's
Which
which are
which brand? Yeah.
Mars. I love Mars gin,
Oh, interesting. I don't think that I've tried a Mars gin.
and there. Let me see. What's their name? Kinobi.
Oh, Kenobi's great out of Kyoto, the Kyoto Distilling Company. That's good stuff.
Wabi.
Oh, you know what? Wabi gin. I have
Wabi
seen that.
gin.
I might have tried it when I visited the Tsunuki distillery, but I've never had a bottle, and I don't know that I've ever ordered it in a bar. The gin I love is actually Osuzu from Osuzu Yama Distillery down in Miyazaki.
I've seen it, but I haven't tried it.
So this is their pomegranate, I think. This is their kumquat expression. I just love the glass that they use. Um, just really
Oh,
nice packaging. Glass stopper.
yeah.
Really beautiful. Kumquat's good. My favorite is their original, which is it has rather than yellow, it's blue. Um, that's my favorite for martinis, for gin and soda, for gin and tonic. It's just a really well balanced gin. Everything they make there is just really fantastic stuff. They're a shochu distillery and spirits maker, and they've actually got their malt whiskey license. And I have a feeling that when they start making whiskey, it's going to be pretty phenomenal because all
I
of their
think
shochu's top notch.
I think they've started releasing newborn whiskey
Yep, I think you're
in
right.
smaller bottles.
Yep. Yeah, I've not tried their new make. And then they actually just released. I could only find this mini. This was a special collaboration. This is let me take this out. I haven't actually opened this box before. This is their Kyoto blend. So it's a collaboration with somebody in Kyoto. And so it says Kyoto. Oops, right there. So I think what
Nice.
makes this one different is it says pine needle roasted green tea, ginger, sansho, and juniper. So I've tried this one, but I finally was able to find a bottle of it. I tried to find the full size and had no luck, but I did find the mini. So really good gin.
Sometimes gin makers they try to make things differently by adding some weird stuff
Hmm.
to their infusions. And I bought this Japanese craft gin which uses a plant that I don't know about. And okay, I mean I understand that you want to make it different, but it's not so good.
Sure, you've got to find the right balance, right? I mean, gin is essentially one of the easiest spirits to make, but it's one of the hardest to make well,
Yeah.
right? You can make it fast, and all you need is some essentially neutral spirit to macerate your botanicals in, but then you got to get that right balance of botanicals, or you're gonna have a mess on your hands.
Yeah.
Talking about weird ingredients, the gin out of Hiroshima, their special edition. I'm forgetting the name of them right now, but their special edition uses oyster shells.
Atsumi.
No, it's the Sakurao.
Ah, Sakura.
Sak, Sakurao. Their pink bottle has oyster shells in the mash bill, which is because oysters are famous in Hiroshima, so
Right.
they wanted
I've
some
tried them.
local
I've
product.
tried them.
Yeah, their main brand is quite good. I enjoyed that on the recommendation of Greg de Saint Maurice, who's active on Twitter. He's actually a food researcher, really interesting guy, and he recommended the Sakura gin, which is pretty great. I enjoyed that one.
The
Yeah,
Sakuryu,
gin,
it's amazing. I love it. I actually have one open. The one that is like 47 degrees. So good.
yep, yeah, yeah. I tend
And
to drink a fair amount of gin in summer because I love it with
right,
soda. Just so refreshing,
yeah.
for sure.
I
Yeah,
do a Sonic. I do
yep,
normally gin Sonic, which is a little bit of soda and a little bit of tonic. So it's not
yeah.
that sweet.
That's right. Yeah,
And
gin and tonics at this point are they're too sweet for me. I just didn't tend not to drink sweet drinks too much, and
right.
so Sonic is a really good balance for sure.
Have you tried whiskey by Sakurao Distillery?
I have not.
They released their first batch at cask strength. Uh, Two bottles, one called Sakurao and the other one called Togouchi. They were both distilled in Japan and aged in Japan. But because the brand used the same name Togouchi for their previous blended foreign component whiskey, people are suspicious about
Yep.
the new bottles. It's single malt Japanese whiskey, and it's stated on the label.
Yep.
So I think it must be good. I haven't had the opportunity to try them. I want to try the cask strength because they are releasing 43 percenters
Mhm.
recently, and actually I saw them at my local. I was like,
Oh, no
what?
kidding.
Whiskey at my local? But as I told you, they have the Sakurao brand and the Togouchi brand, and they were selling only Sakurao at that time at my local shop. And I don't know why, but I didn't want to buy it because I wanted to buy the Sakurao and the Togouchi at the same time.
Sure.
I don't know what that is, but weird reason, very weird reason.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you've split up twins, right? When you only have one of them at home.
Yeah. So I'm actually looking forward to find a couple of those online and trying them very soon. For people who follow me on Instagram, next month in September, I'm having an internet challenge, which is called Poptember. And what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna pop some bottles, lots of them. So let's see how many
Nice.
I can pop in a month.
Sure, sure. One a day, is that your goal?
Yeah, basically, because
Yeah.
normally my open shelf, I mean my open bottle shelf,
Yeah.
can hold about 90 bottles, and I'm now down to about 60, so it's perfect.
Yeah, good
30
timing.
bottles in Poptember, and then my rack is full.
There you go.
Yeah,
I
hopefully
like that.
yeah, I can
I'm
pop some.
not nearly that strategic with my bottle openings. It's usually like, oh, what do I feel like drinking? Oh, I haven't tried that yet. Let's open that. So, but
Oh,
I think like you, I just tend to open things. I'm not collecting to resell or to hoard or anything like that. It's really to enjoy these wonderful drinks.
yeah, and that was one of the main reasons I started doing Instagram challenges. I have now three, one in April, one in June, and one in September. The ones in September and April are opening bottles, and the one in June is finishing bottles. And it's been great because I have a lot of participants. Everybody's trying to share the challenge with their friends because the idea of whiskey, in my opinion, is to drink it and share it. I've been able to have a couple parties at home when before Corona, and those were the best whiskeys. I don't remember what whiskey it was, but the
Sure.
best whiskey is the one you share, right?
That's right. That's right.
Let me see. I have a question here from Daniel. He's saying, "What's your favorite high ABV cask strength Japanese single malt?"
Yeah, there it is.
It's a great question, and it's very good because I'm particularly in love with this brand, and it's the one that I show you.
Mm,
Komagatake, Tsunuki, Mars in general are releasing great whiskey, great
yeah.
quality whiskey, and I can still find it sometimes.
Yeah.
And so let me show you my actual favorite. It's right here. Let me see where is it?
There you are. Mars
Mars Malt.
malt. Le Papillon
Single cask,
Casting. Oh wow.
single malt, Japanese whiskey. This is a sherry casks, peated malt from Mars. It's 3 to 4 years, one single sherry butt. This whiskey is the one that I was telling you about. It's just perfect. It's perfect. There's no flaws at all. And I wanted to buy another one on the secondary market, and the price is high. They are so high that I can't. I can't. But I still can nurse this bottle for a year or so.
Sure, sure.
That's one of the things I'm starting to do because I like Mars so much lately that I'm going to remodel this wall, and I'm going to take out the Scotch, and I'm going to make a Mars shelf.
Wow.
And I'm going to put the Scotch in a different shelf next to this because it's just so good.
Nice. Yeah, I've as I said earlier, I really enjoy Mars myself, and it is a little bit more affordable typically than some of the other brands that are out there, and easier to find. So I found a couple of local liquor stores that tend to get their good stuff, and so I just pop in periodically and see what they've got available. Really, really, really good whiskey from that distillery.
Here I don't have stores that sell Mars whiskey, like at least the non-blended ones. But I have a couple of friends who help me enter the lotteries for the online sales.
Oh, nice.
So sometimes a friend of mine, he gets to the lower lottery, and he sends me the bottle, and in exchange I give him like a big sample. So I've been able to snatch a couple bottles lately, and
Nice.
it's good. It's good. I love Mars at the moment. Actually, my glass is also Mars.
Oh yeah, nice.
Mars Sunuki.
Yeah.
And also, you know what? I've talked to a couple of people from that brand, Hombo Mars, and they're very nice and very humble, which you don't get sometimes.
Sure. They've had a really kind of rough history with their whiskey making. When they got into the whiskey business, it was peaking, and just as they bought the distillery, it crashed, and then it closed the distillery. Yeah, they closed the distillery for years, and then they finally reopened as whiskey started to take off again. And I was worried by the time they'd have good stuff coming out that the bottom would fall out again. But it doesn't look like Japanese whiskey is receding. I'm sure it won't keep rising to the degree that it has, but I don't see Japanese whiskey disappearing again like it did back in the 80s, 90s.
I think we are reaching the boom plateau at the high end of the curve, because even Japanese people who I talk to, even if the new whiskey is so good, they refuse to pay Neiman yen for a bottle of young whiskey.
Sure.
Even bartenders, I've been to bars and I asked the owner bartender, so what Japanese whiskey do you have? And they were like, I have 2 or 3 bottles of this and that. And I was like, what's up? They're like, it's just so difficult. It's so expensive. So I rather buy and offer really good other options, because it's not worth the time and the price, they say. Of course, there are some other bars that only specialize in Japanese whiskey, right?
Sure, sure.
So also in Scotland and all over the world, with this popping up of so many distilleries, I think it's good news for us, the customers, who now we have more options. We have more options from all over the world. I'm drinking Taiwanese whiskey lately, Indian whiskey, a lot of Indian whiskey lately is coming great. What else? I think my main ones lately are, Australian whiskey. Star Wars is coming up really good. Star Wars, Kavalan, and Amrut. The funny thing about Amrut and high strength whiskeys from India is that they cannot sell them in India because the government has total control about the alcohol, and they don't allow cask strength. So I
Oh
think
wow.
the maximum is 47 point something.
Hmm.
So basically, what these distilleries in India are doing is they're just exporting everything because it's difficult to sell at home.
Right, right, right.
Like, yay! I'm here in the outside of India, just buying it. Actually,
Yeah,
I bought 2 more bottles of Amrut cask strength
nice.
recently. It's a really nice whiskey, super strong, very flavorful because of the same thing of the weather.
Hmm.
They don't release age statements that much because of the same thing,
Yep,
but they use 6 row barley, so it has a little different flavor than you get
sure.
from Scotch and Japanese whiskey. So at the end of the day, Armando, as a customer, because I don't do anything with this, I just drink it and share it. As a
Sure,
customer,
sure.
I'm happy with what's happening now in the world because people are there's market for everybody. People who just want to buy super expensive Hibiki 17 from 10 years ago, they have their share. That's fine.
Hmm.
And to have it in your house and not drinking it, that's fine. And then there's craft distilleries who are making great things. Medium size distilleries like Chichibu. Well, now it's big with the
Yeah,
second
it's getting there.
distillery. And yeah, great hopes for Japanese whiskey and actually world whiskey in general for us the customers.
Sure, no question. Talking about cask strength, I have to say that I guess because I'm primarily a shochu and awamori drinker, uh, I tend to like lower proof whiskey. I much prefer a 43 to 47% release than I do a cask strength. And I like a little bit of dilution. I tend to drink my scotch or my Japanese whiskey either on the rocks or in a highball. Sometimes twice up, so half water, half whiskey without any soda. Sorry, without any ice. But I tend not to sip neat. I'll do it for evaluation, but I don't necessarily enjoy my whiskeys that way. But I guess it's just a different way of experiencing the drinks. And as we always say on the show, if you are happy with the price, drink what you like, how you like it. So
Exactly. I do that all the time. And I post it on like specialized groups on Facebook, and they just go to my throat when I post a highball or something like that. I mean, as long as I'm enjoying it, that's the best. That's the best.
yeah,
I also drink. I drink neat highballs, rocks, and cocktails. Depends on the day. Depends on the mood. Depends on the weather. Depends on the job and the
sure, sure.
stress.
Yep.
Sometimes you just go home and you need something to relax. I'm not going to study this whiskey and the notes and the flavors and the aromas. No, I just want to sip on something.
No,
And
no
some other
question.
days, you're in the mood for a very complex whiskey and just sit back and listen to some music. It's by the
Yeah.
day, I guess, case by case.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, yeah. The thing I played around a little bit with last winter was actually oyuwari, so whiskey with hot water in the shochu style, and that really opens up different expression than you get from drinking it either neat or chilled. So it's maybe something for you to play around this winter if you haven't done too much of that.
I want to try. What's the ratio?
Usually, well, because whiskey's higher proof, I think you'd want generally more water than whiskey.
Yeah.
Maybe of 3 parts to 7 or 4 parts to 6,
Okay.
something like that. Or you can just, do 50-50, see what you like, right? Maybe with your cask strength, you'd want to get down to like a 3-7 or something, but maybe with a standard, you might do 5-5.
Sounds good. I'll try that.
Yeah, yeah. Don't make the water too hot, or you'll scald the whiskey. You'll burn off some of your alcohol.
Ah, is there
So
any like correct temperature?
I usually do around going into the glass. I usually do it at around 80 degrees
Okay.
Celsius. Give it a little swirl to warm the cup, and then pour the whiskey in. You want it to be around 50. 50 to 55 degrees centigrade, I think, when you're enjoying it.
Okay, sounds good.
So,
I'll try.
yeah, good stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess just a couple of things. Oh, you got another question?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on Karuizawa Japanese whiskey? Does the price make
Hmm.
sense? So I believe we're talking here about the old Karuizawa, the defunct distillery that's now been torn down, and there's actually a new Karuizawa distillery coming, but not here yet.
The
Not from the
Komoro.
same, not from the same folks,
Okay.
right? As the original Karuizawa. But I, what do you think about the Karuizawa products? Are they worth the price?
Not really. Not really, because people who have tried them and had paid for it, they say that yes, this is good, and you're paying for the luxury and the rarity, but not precisely because of the price. To be honest, I have only tried one or two long time ago in a bar in Tokyo, and the prices were not so bad as they are now.
Mhm.
But paying $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for a bottle of whiskey, um, that for one thing is very special, right?
Sure.
And then if you open it and drink it and you like it, I mean, that's fine. For some people, $15 is nothing. For us,
Mhm.
it's a little bit.
Sure.
So I guess it depends on what your budget is and what are you trying to achieve. If you just want to try rare defunct distillery malts and that
Mhm.
gets your kicks, that's fine.
Sure.
But to be honest, at nowadays prices, I don't even buy it at bars by the glass.
Mhm. Mhm.
Last time I asked, the one of the cheapest ones was about $200-300 for 15 milliliters.
Yep.
I was like, what if it's not that good?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But
my opinion is this super special Japanese whiskey are okay for whoever wants to pay for it. And most of these bottles are not even open. They are
mhm.
for
Mhm.
collection and reselling, as far as I see on
Mhm.
Instagram.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't believe that the super extremely expensive malts are the best,
Mhm.
because I have tried a few older bottles which were like good but not that good.
Mhm.
And I think it depends on the bottle. It also depends by the cask. In Karuizawa, if they used many sherry butts and they bottle all single casks, and people say this cask is good, the other one is pure sulfur.
Mhm.
So it's just case by case, I guess. This as well.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're paying for the rarity. You're paying for the exclusivity of having something from a dead distillery. But I agree. I've have you been to Bar Kitchen here in Fukuoka?
I haven't
The
visited Fukuoka.
You got to come down when you're ready to travel. Come down. I'll show you around. Bar
Yes.
Kitchen is a really interesting concept. It's a funny named bar because there is no kitchen, but it's a whiskey bar, and everything he serves is a half dram, so half pour for 1,000 yen, no
Oh,
matter
really?
what it is. Unless
What?
it's super, super rare, then he apologizes to you and he might charge you 1,500 yen or 2,000 yen. But I've never paid more than 2,000 yen for a drink there, and I've tried a number of different Karuizawa products. Uh,
Right.
his bar is legendary for one of the earlier whiskey festivals here in Fukuoka. They had a party and they opened all 53 playing cards
I
from
saw
Ichiro.
about that. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So that they drank them all too, unfortunately. So
Yeah,
um,
and sometimes they have at that bar they have all you can drink nights, right? Super special rare malts and blah blah blah.
I believe that they do. I haven't been there for one of those, but it's a nice little spot. The owner's really friendly. Sometimes he's got his dog behind the bar, little dog. It sits in a box and
I
chirps every once in a while. The other great
really
bar
want
here
to
for
go.
whiskey is Bar Leichhardt, which he charges what he believes the product is worth, but he will tell you every story about the brand and very encyclopedic knowledge.
Right.
Really, really good spot as well. Yeah, we'll definitely have to have a night out here in Fukuoka when
Yes,
you have a
yes,
chance.
I want to go. I want to go. I I've also heard that Fukuoka has great food. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah,
One of the
really.
best ones in Japan, they say.
Yeah. Jimmy Dawson says he loves you. You're getting a little fan in,
Yay,
enjoying it.
Jimmy!
Yeah.
That's
So we're coming up on an hour. We try not to go over an hour usually. So maybe just wrap up a little bit. I did have, so I promise everybody our next episode of the podcast on Koji will be, sorry, non Koji, on yeast, will be coming out very, very shortly. I just need to write up the show notes. The episode is finished. So our next Japan Distilled episode is on yeast. And for those of you in Japan, although you will be able to find this overseas, Christopher and I and the podcast were actually had a small feature in Popeye magazine, which was released yesterday. And that was a thrill for us to get interviewed by the magazine. It's kind of equivalent to what, about probably GQ or Maxim here in
yeah,
Japan. It's got that kind of reputation. This is like the 900th issue of the magazine. It's a drinks focused issue. So
yeah.
for those of you interested in cocktail recipes, different recommendations on different spirits brands to explore that sort of thing, the magazine is just full of that kind of stuff. And we have a little interview we did with them and with the founder of Mito Soya, the micro distillery in Chiba Prefecture. So the three of us had a little chat on a Zoom. I actually was wearing this shirt during that interview on the Zoom, and they ended up doing an illustration of the three of us that they put in the magazine, and so they have me dressed in this shirt in the little illustration. So fun stuff. But cool. Thank you so much, Armando, for coming on. Any last thoughts? Anything you wanna say before we sign off?
Yeah, I want to say thank you and Christopher and Japan Distill for having me. I want to say thank you to everybody who popped up for a little bit. Yeah, it's great. Let's enjoy whiskey and let's enjoy life while we can.
That's right. Yeah. And thank you to all of you out there in Japan Distilled Land. We really appreciate your support, and new episode coming soon. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place. And kampai.
Come by.